Have you ever set up a cozy little calm down corner in your classroom only to watch it collect dust or, even worse, turn into a hiding place or a punishment zone? Been there, seen that. But what if your calm down corner instead could actually help your students to self-regulate and get back on track without any constant reminders from you? In this episode, I'm going to walk you through how to set up a calm down corner that works with your students, not against them, and certainly not making things complicated for you. And I'll share how this ties into a bigger reset as well, one that I teach inside my new group coaching program, the Classroom Reset. Let's get into it. Hey friends, welcome to Enjoy Teaching Again, the podcast for teachers who love the work but need a little spark to bring the joy back. I'm your host, Elizabeth Peterson, classroom teacher, arts integration specialist, and passionate educator of over 25 years. If you're overwhelmed by behaviors, disengaged students, and long, exhausting days, you are not alone. But together, we can turn things around and you can teach with confidence and purpose again. So locate that cold coffee of yours, find your favorite pen, I know you have one, and let's dive in. It's time to get inspired and enjoy teaching again. Before we get started, I want to share with you a wonderful review from Aubrey from Mom Intentional. She says, amazing resource for any teacher about this podcast. Yay, thank you, Aubrey. She goes on to say, Elizabeth is a wealth of knowledge. I love her calm and encouraging voice. It feels as if I'm sitting and drinking coffee with a wise friend. This podcast is a must for any teacher wanting to raise the game in their classroom while also maintaining their own joy and peace. Aubrey, I'm actually raising my glass. Can you hear my mug? Mug of coffee to you, my friend, and thank you so much for that review. And that's what this is really ultimately about. It's about reclaiming your own joy and peace in teaching. But what's really great is that through these strategies and tweaks to what you already do, not adding more to your plate, things like a calm down corner, you can really help student behaviors. And if this idea of a calm down corner that actually works makes your teacher heart say, yes, please, you're going to love all the things that I'm sharing inside the Classroom Reset. This brand new group coaching program is filled with practical strategies that help you shift your classroom energy, reduce behaviors, which I know we are all struggling with, and actually enjoy teaching again without the burnout. Whether you need to rework your routines, get students emotionally ready to learn and transition into your classroom, or to press reset on your own overwhelm, this is the program for you. Come join me inside the Classroom Reset and I will walk you through every step of the way. So to get into the Classroom Reset, first you need to be on the email list. That way you're going to learn exactly when the doors open next week. And you'll also get the Classroom Reset at the best price ever. So go to theinspiredclassroom.com/reset. That's theinspiredclassroom.com/RESET to get your hands on the information you need so that you can join me as soon as the Classroom Reset doors open. Now let's take a close look at what a calm down corner is. Or let's actually start with what it's not. It's not a place for kids to just go and cool off after they've blown up. You know those situations where a student is just over the top. You don't want to just send them to your calm down corner and assume it's going to work. In my opinion, that type of behavior, that should have different consequences. And it's a whole other topic of discussion, which we'll actually get to coming down the line. So make sure you subscribe to the podcast because we've got so many things to discuss over the next weeks and months and years. Now, what I'm talking about is a place inside your classroom that is actually a student-centered, student-run regulation station. okay? Because the goal here is to help students to actually recognize their emotions early and practice some self-regulation. And this should come before it becomes a classroom disruption. I would put it to my students like this. I would say to them, this space, this classroom calm down corner is a space that helps you reset and get back to learning when your big feelings start to show up. And I have so many stories of students of my own who have used a calm down corner in my classroom and really found some success. Now, I will say that I don't actually have a corner of my classroom to do this because my classroom setup is much different than a traditional classroom because my classroom doesn't actually have 4 walls. It's in an modified open concept classroom. So what I created instead of a corner of my classroom is what I call a break box. It's a actual box that a student can take to a different place in the room where he or she can kind of have some time to work through some of the things that we'll talk about inside this episode. Now, what are some of these stories? So there was one girl a couple of years ago who would almost as a routine come and use my break box or calm down corner of my classroom, use it just about every day at the beginning of the day. And this was a girl who actually had a hard time getting to school on time. She would come in sometimes an hour and a half late. She'd have to have some time often with the school guidance counselor, and then she would come up to my classroom, and then she would actually need that little extra moment of getting herself started inside my classroom, and she would take the break box, take it to a corner of the room, and use it for the set amount of time, which was usually just about 3 minutes, and that would actually help her begin the day, kind of like transition and just melt into the classroom in a different way than just coming in and sitting down and trying to focus on what we were doing. It was almost like she was using the things inside of our break box, listening in on what was going on inside the classroom, seeing from her peripheral vision, what was going on, see what was happening, and then slowly get herself to close out the break box and then transition right into her seat. It was truly amazing how nicely it worked for her. Another boy, I actually want to say it was that same year. He had never used the break box or any type of calm down corner thing at all. He was such, like a good student, well behaved, just a really amazing kind of kid that you want to multiply and have a bunch of inside your classroom. He hadn't used it, and it was about mid-May that he actually came over to me. He put his head down and he asked to use it, and I could tell that something was up with him, and he just didn't even look at me. He looked down at the floor, and his face got a little red, and he just said, "I'm having a really bad day." And I looked at him and I said, "Kiddo, this is what this is for. Absolutely, you can go use it." And so he needed that little extra permission, but he knew what to do, and he went ahead and used it. And the way I have it set up, which I'll talk to you about in this episode, he was able to check out the break box, and when he checked back into the classroom, it obviously helped him to get kind of just back into a good frame of mind to take on the next part of the day. When you can provide something like this in a way for students to really see it as valuable, it's actually a priceless spot to have in your classroom. All right, so let's talk about what actually goes into a calm down corner. All right, so usually it's a spot, a corner, a little area in your classroom where a student can sit. Maybe you have like a pillow, maybe you have a chair. I see some classrooms have like one of those nice little like hammocky kind of chairs. Maybe you get a patch of a carpet. I know some teachers will go to like a carpet store or a hardware store and get leftover examples or samples of carpets that they can have. I did that way early on in my teaching career. And also, you know what else I used one year were a set of garden kneelers, the little like padded things that you kneel down on so you can garden and not hurt your knees. I remember finding a whole bunch of them at like, I don't know if it was like Christmas tree shops or it was like a store like that, and they were like 50 cents or $1 each, and I got an entire classroom set. But we don't need a whole classroom set for this, right? You need like one or two. Just something a little comfy to sit on is often what you might find inside a Calm Down Corner. Other things is a box or a container that has some creative tools. Things I love to put in remember I use a break box that's transportable to different parts of the classroom that students can use. So, inside I'll have like coloring pages, small ones, mini ones. I like mini coloring pages for this type of thing. Sometimes some drawing prompts or like drawing starters, doodle starters. I'll also have emotion wheels that have like different types of emotions that students can look at, identify with. Those are really helpful. Inside my break box resource that I actually have on TPT, I even have a page that you can print out that has like a variety of emojis, and some students will take that little sheet of paper out and like color the emojis that they're feeling, or just color them in as just a way to kind of sit and calm down. Comfort items are also another idea of things that you can have. Maybe a small little stuffed animal. Those do wonders, right? Or soft fabric swatches. I have a couple of examples of this in my classroom where they're just like strips of soft felt that students can actually just touch and hold on to and just feel and rub their fingers on. Other kind of sensory objects. And of course, if you're like me, which you probably are in this regard, you want sensory objects and fidgets that really don't make any sound. So those fabric swatches are great. Sometimes you might find other like little fidget things that, things you can watch, like those, how would I describe it? The things that are like filled with liquid and then different colors can kind of like swirl around inside. There's a lot of those types of things. Having one of those in there is nice because students can watch the different colors of liquid go through and just kind of like be mesmerized, and it's a calming thing for them to do. Other types of visual supports can be inside your Calm Down Corner as well. Breathing cards, I have a set of those that I keep in my break box. They're also included in that resource. An how am I feeling card that maybe they can write down a couple sentences. And also calm down strategies on like a little menu that students can refer to. I've seen some teachers post a menu of calm down strategies like on the wall around their Calm Down Corner, which a student can refer to and kind of just think about what would work for them. And I think that that's a really important thing to consider. Inside your Calm Down Corner, you want to have a variety of things that will allow students to use their different senses to calm themselves down. So something that they can feel, something that they can watch or see. You might even have something that they can smell. Maybe you have like a diffuser near the Calm Down Corner, or maybe you even have one just in your classroom. Or you could go a little old school and have a few smelly stickers, scratch and sniff stickers. Those are always fun. I remember loving those as a kid. And you know what else is a real winner inside my class is a stack of Post-it notes and some fun markers. There's just something about Post-it notes, right? That they just love writing on and doodling on and just coloring in. That can be a nice calm down activity as well. And of course, another important thing that you want to have inside your Calm Down Corner is some kind of timer. I have a little mini 3-minute sand timers that the student can just flip and watch the sand go down. Some teachers have like a digital timer or something like that they can use so that students understand that this isn't a hangout for the rest of class. This is something that you can use, be done with, and move back into class when your time is up. And of course, if you want, you can have your students help you design it with you. Ownership, of course, can build the buy-in for your students, but don't feel like you always have to involve them in the creation of your calm down corner. This is something that you can establish and then introduce to your students. There's absolutely no issues with that as far as I'm concerned, because no matter what, you'll always go over the tools inside of your calm down corner so that your students understand your expectations. That is a real key. And we'll talk about that right now, because the next part of all of this is teaching your students actually how to use it so that they actually do use it for the right reasons inside your classroom. So your calm down corner is just like any other thing or routine that you have inside your classroom, and you need to introduce it like any other procedure. And I think we all have good intentions when we start something like this, but really taking some time to introduce this to your students, no matter what time of year you end up starting this. You could be starting this in May or even June. I mean, heck, sometimes students need this the most at the end of the school year. You could be starting it in September or October, whatever it is. It's a valuable tool to have inside your classroom, and your students will be able to use it and use it really well if you take some time to introduce it to them. Now, here's part of the challenge, and I've tested this out in my own classroom, but after I go over the expectations of how to use each individual tool inside, remember I have a break box, every tool inside that break box, I'll actually have each student over the course of a day or two actually go and use it and use it correctly. So I will have like a rolling list of students, and every 3 to 5 minutes a new student will go into the calm down corner. Or because I use break boxes, I would have 2 break boxes. I would have 2 kids at a time use the break box, set that timer for the 3 minutes, and have them just experience how to check in and how to use the stuff and how to check back out to get back into our classroom. Which brings me to part of the procedure should really be to have a check-in and check-out system so that you know who's using it and students are intentionally going to use it. It's not something they can just get up and go to. Instead, it's something they need to make a decision about, sign into the calm down corner, and then when their 3 or 5 minutes is up, they have to sign back out and get back into their seat. There are different ways to do this, of course. Sometimes you can actually have a list, sign in or sign out, sign in, kind of like a bathroom sign out. You could do it that way, simple. You could have cards that are at the calm down corner, cards that are very colorful so that they can maybe take the card, put it on their desk, go to the calm down corner, have their time, and then return the card when they're done. And the great thing about having that kind of system is because you can have like maybe 2 cards, maybe you only allow 1 or 2 or even 3, depending on how big your calm down corner is, students at a time to be able to use it. Part of my check-in and check-out system for my break boxes was not just to put a little pass on their desk to let me know that they are actually using a break box, but also to have them fill out a little form where they can quickly identify how they're feeling before they start using the break box, and then as the check back into the classroom, they would fill out the same form and reflect on how they're feeling after they've had the opportunity to use the break box. And that's where I got a lot of the data that I collected over the years that I've been using a break box in my classroom. I would say that 95% of my students will show a great improvement in their emotion after using the break box. So that was validation for me that this type of tool inside your classroom can really, really work. Now, here's the thing. You don't always need a new behavior system or some magic strategy to fix everything. Sometimes the most powerful things to do is to help your students understand how to actually manage themselves. And these are the types of strategies that you'll learn inside the Classroom Reset, my brand new group coaching program. where you'll learn a creative approach to really calming behavior and bringing joy back into your classroom. So, to be the first to learn about the Classroom Reset when it comes out next week, and to get the best discount possible, go to theinspiredclassroom.com/reset. That's theinspiredclassroom.com/RESET. Reset. So to review, remember, the Calm Down Corner is not a place for students to just be sent because they're having a bad day. It's something that they can make a decision about and self-regulate their own emotions. We talked about what goes into a Calm Down Corner, some of those creative tools, some comforting items, some supports, and maybe even reflection tools that they can use. And finally, probably the most important part for us teachers is making sure that we introduce how to use a Calm Down Corner in our classroom through a really intense procedural explanation of how to use all the tools inside your Calm Down Corner and giving your students an opportunity to each try it. That practice before they need it is so important with so many different things, and the Calm Down Corner is certainly one of those things that you want your students to be able to practice, get an experience in using so that they know what to expect when they actually need it, and then they'll actually use it too. So, are you going to put a Calm Down Corner in your classroom? Or maybe readjust things that you already have in place? I hope so. Let me know inside of our amazing Inspiring Teachers community. You can find us over there at theinspiredclassroom.com/community, and I can't wait to hear some of the things that you try in your classroom. I hope this episode inspired you, encouraged you, or gave you a fresh idea to try. And if so, I would love for you to take a screenshot and text it to one of your teaching buddies. I'm so grateful that you landed here with me today, and it would mean the world to me if you would leave me a review over on Apple Podcast. Thanks so much for being here, and I'll catch you on the next episode. This is Elizabeth Peterson reminding you to get inspired so you can be inspiring to your students and enjoy teaching again.